happening in their school life, their personal life, and just this was informal, her heart, clearly a passion. When we formulated that and got it structured, where was the business? Now, she was already buying them dinner and lunch.
That's right.
She was already going to their events, paying for it out of her pocket.
This
is what she loved to do already.
That's
so
right.
By us formulating it, guess what? We set up a non-for-profit. Now the money she put into it was a contribution to the non-for-profit, which was a tax write-off.
That's right. That's right.
We were able to get some matching grants from Target.
Wow.
You never saw that it would go that direction. And so it's asking a better question to formulate how can I make this make me money or save money?
You know, I had a mentor tell me one time that folks, because I want to get into this politics conversation here in just a second. You know, people were so worried about if there's a Democrat or Republican in the White House, and the mentor said to me, you know, we need to stop worrying about that as much and understand that if there's a Democrat in the White House, your not-for-profit is going to benefit, and if it's a Republican in the White House, your for-profit business is going to benefit. So make sure you have both. And it was, to me, just kind of like boom. It was one of those moments in my head when I was like, that is just because it's true. It's just a mindset. You know, sitting down and we were watching those two vice presidents, those two VPs debating the other day. It's just a mindset of a conservative versus a liberal, you know, and you know, you got to find a way to be purple and understand how to balance both of those.
Yes, that's so true. I certainly when President Obama became president, and anything that's happening in this country, that's what you call keeping your finger on the pulse. And we saw that Michelle Obama was very passionate. First Lady Michelle Obama is passionate about eating healthy and fruits and vegetables and healthy lifestyle. Do you know how many non-for-profits receive grants from starting gardens? Simply gardens. And so the churches that had people in them that were savvy and that had their fingertips on the pulse, they started investigating it early on, and they started building gardens, the community gardens, and figuring out, okay, if we build the community garden, we can sell the fruits and vegetables, and they got grants for that. They received grants. So you have to know where are things shifting and moving. And so many times as minorities, we sometimes show up late.
Yes.
What I mean by that is the crowd has been going there, and then here we come trottling to go there, but they've already turned the corner, and now we get the bottom end of it, where we have to be forward thinking, advanced thinking of what is happening, where are things being directed. I mean, this whole social media boom, phenomenal. Phenomenal. I mean, the whole concept of most of the companies now that make money don't even own assets. Uber owns no assets.
Oh my God.
No assets. Airbnb owns no assets.
You are reading my mind. That is in one of my presentations. I saw a slide, and maybe it was at Black Enterprise. Maybe we were sitting in the room together, and we saw this slide that talked exactly about that. The biggest car, you said Uber was on that list. Facebook was on that list. As has networking, as you said, Airbnb, and like you said, all these companies in social and in tech that don't own anything, they just leverage relationships. That's really what it boils down to. Yeah. They're really leveraging relationships. Yeah, they're leveraging relationships. Let's talk about Trump. And not just Trump for the sake of talking about him, because we can all have our personal feelings about him and his perspectives and all that stuff. But let's talk about his business acumen, because I'm a marketer. There are things that I understand about naming rights. There's things that I understand about how real estate is done, because I've been in some real estate, some good ones and some bad ones, over the years. And obviously nothing as big as anything Trump could put his mind to. But understanding that he supposedly lost over almost $1 billion, 900 and some odd, 60 something million dollars, almost $1 billion in 1995, which they say he could possibly not have filed taxes for 18 years. Help us to make sense of that for us lay people. That's great for press to get it out there. It gets eyeballs, it gets clicks. But help us to understand how in the world the federal government allows a Donald Trump to operate and potentially in 1 year write off almost $1 billion in taxes, and he's still flying around in jets all day, every day.
Absolutely. Well, I always tell my clients, and it does just the drill down on it, the simplicity on it is that when you don't make money, you don't pay taxes. When you make money, you're going to pay taxes. So therefore, it's harvesting, the term harvesting your losses, if you will. If you've got certain entities that are profitable, but you have other things that are not profitable, you're able to sometimes net those losses against those activities to help reducing your income down so that you pay less taxes. And so in the stance for him, it was what was called a net operating loss. And when that basically means, just for the everyday folks, that if you look at the front page of your tax return, it's at the bottom of total where it says total income, it's a negative. That's an operating loss that can be potentially carried back 2 years or carried forward 20 years. Well, here's the thing about that. That tells me, just because a person has a loss does not mean that they're broke and they're bankruptcy. And I always tell people when they hear about celebrities and, superstars they say, oh, they're bankrupt, they're broke. I'm like, they're not that kind of broke. Okay?
Right.
They're not that kind of broke.
Right. Right.
And so in the midst of that, he has just taken and decided that things that probably were losses and opportunities to be able to roll those forward. And therefore, when that loss rolls forward over numerous years, therefore a profit that you have. And so let's say in 1 year you have a loss, just for the sake of simple numbers to understand. Let's say you have a loss of $50,000 on 1 year. Well, the next year you make, let's say you make $50,000. Well, you really should have paid taxes on that 50, but because you had a loss to carry forward, you pay zero taxes. So just supersize those numbers, and you can begin to see the kind of thing that has happened with the Trump numbers. But I'll tell you, I was recently doing a segment locally here about trumping up your taxes. And it goes back to entrepreneurship, the kind of thing, real estate, entrepreneurship. You just an everyday person that's working a job, and there's nothing wrong with this, because I understand that sometimes people are like, hey, I love my job. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm making a difference on the inside of the company. I'm not interested in starting it on my own self. But if that is the case, then you miss out on some of the financial tools and strategies to be able to reduce your income from that standpoint. Yeah, you've got some retirement and strategies that you can make and itemized deductions, but ultimately there's a whole slew of strategies that become available when you're a business owner or you're in business. And real estate investors and professionals are a type of business owner. So he had several things working for him. Entrepreneurship, businesses, real estate, investments, all of those things, and they ultimately brought back to him reducing his taxes. Now, I'll tell you, where I see it's like I said, it's legal. It's nothing wrong with it from that standpoint. He took care. Well, let's say this: what's right and what's ethically right. He was able to have the powerhouse team where he could take those type of losses, and he could hire an attorney that when he got audited, because here's what I know and I see every day. I have business owners that have had real failure businesses that because they didn't do some of the right things quickly, and they kind of let their feelings get in the way, business deals went down bad. They had losses. They wrote those losses off. And I can tell you in most of the cases, probably 60% of the cases, those folks got audited. So now what happens is, and Trump said that he was in an audit as well, so that still represents the same thing that would happen. But where does the difference come to play? The difference comes to play that when you have a business owner that only has that one trade of business, and that was their revenue source, and it's bottomed out, they don't have the money or the resources to fight with an attorney to sustain those kind of deductions. Well, Trump, he's moved on to a whole nother something else, maybe a beauty pageant, but still making money from another angle, which affords him the ability to hire a powerhouse team of tax attorneys and lawyers and to fight for years. I mean, his audit is not just a 1 year audit, not a month audit, not a 2 month audit. Most small businesses, if they're in an audit in 2 to 3 months, then they're probably just like, just send me the notice, because they can't afford to keep energy in that audit that long because it's so stressful from that standpoint, one, and then two, the resources that come with it. They can't afford to keep going through it. And so therefore they typically just accept whatever the notice was, take the payment arrangement, and walk away. Why? And then also, it's record keeping, to be very honest. If in business, sometimes when we talked about hustle, but in entrepreneurship, there are phases of entrepreneurship. There's entrepreneurs that are the solopreneurs. You are solo doing it all. You make it all happen. You're the accountant, the candlestick maker, the salesperson, and in that, something is not being done well.
That's
and
right.
If you haven't hired an accountant or someone to help you with your paperwork, you can have legitimate expenses that you did take and should be able to keep, but because you failed to keep the proper documentation, now you can't support it, and now you're in an audit, and they remove it, and you owe thousands of dollars. Where Trump, he's got a team of accountants, a team of lawyers that do nothing but do that kind of thing. So therefore, his position. So it's a different kind of fight, if you can see that. And when you don't pay tax, to be honest, I tell clients all the time, this country's ran on taxes.
That's right.
That's the revenue. If you're in business and you sell lemonade and you need to make more money, then you sell more lemonade. So therefore, when the country has issues and revenues down, tax audits, I knew, again, a pulse on your fingertip on the pulse, I knew audits would increase. I knew that the internal revenue, when I went to the IRS convention last year as a tax professional, I make it my business to always attend those nationwide conventions. And the chairman of the IRS said, this will probably be one of the worst tax seasons because as people are retiring, we're not rehiring those positions right now because of revenue, but we are staffing our audit department. Why would you staff a department when you're not hiring a simple customer service for someone to answer the telephone to say, when am I getting my refund? You're staffing where you can make revenue.
You make money. That's right.
Audits,
that's right.
Exactly, where you make money. And those auditors didn't go, they went after probably the Trump type of people, but I would be willing to say, and I don't have evidence to support this, but I'd be willing to say that probably the larger amount of audits happen with small business individuals that don't have their records together, the low-hanging fruit. In business, we always say, get the low-hanging fruit. Why would the country not do the same thing? Go after the ones you know that don't have their paperwork together. So dealing with Trump, you know how much, let's think about the amount of money the country has spent auditing Trump. Because for that audit to go on that long, those are revenue agents that are being paid for travel, for time, to go on and on. Revenue agents typically they don't even want to stay in an audit that long. They want to come to a conclusion very early on of where are we going. But so it's a different ball game with the way they're playing the game.
You said a mouthful. If we break it down to the simplest, 1 + 1 = 2, you're exactly right. Everybody's in the revenue generating game. You either are making money or someone is, you look at your staff, that staff member is either making money or their support, right? And as you mentioned, customer service in the IRS equation is a support mechanism. And a lot of these companies, I don't care what it is, everybody's going to an automated system, right? Everybody, because that's less money. We had a conversation offline about phone systems, right? I've had people who picked up my phone before and said, "Hey, hold on, let me get Miguel on the phone." But now I got an automated system, right? Because it doesn't cost me as much money, right? And so. So everybody, everybody's sending you to the website. Go to the website, fill this out, fill this paperwork out, because they don't want to hire more customer service people because it's not making money. But as you mentioned, an auditor has the potential, as you said, to generate more money and get more tax money out of somebody who didn't pay taxes, generate revenue. Talk to me about this part, and hoping you can give us some insight on this. When we go and buy a sandwich, in our local county, 7%, 8%, whatever your local area, that revenue stays in that particular county. If someone does not pay fair, okay, let's do the fact check thing, right? Okay, people say that Trump is not supporting our military, not supporting our veterans benefits, not supporting because he's not paying federal taxes. Do you believe that is true? Him not paying federal taxes, those particular programs are not being supported because they're not being supported by the states and the counties and the local government? Is that strictly 100% supported by the federal government?
Well, I'll say that from the standpoint, if you are just to kind of break it down for a person who was hearing this and they're thinking, "Wow, that seems confusing." If your church if you give your tithes and offering to your church, and your church says, "Hey, we're going to be supporting Africa, the mission of Africa. We're going to be digging a well in Africa," and you don't give tithes and offering, then your money didn't go to help dig the well, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So if the federal taxes are going to support these whatever initiatives that are being spread out that they use for the federal taxes, but you don't pay any of that, then your money, you didn't have any money in the pot that was used to pay that. So therefore, you did not contribute to those efforts. Now, what I will say, are there some